Welcome to the Spiritual Ride podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa LeBlanc, and this week we're talking about soul contracts. Soul contracts are something I have always been interested in, but pretty much my most recent times in doing plant medicine ceremonies, I've gotten a way deeper understanding about my own personal soul contracts and more clarity on what they are in the world. At the end of the episode, I'm going to share with you a very powerful exercise that you can use if you feel that you need to end a soul contract. Now, I don't think this is something you should take lightly. There are some people that think it's dangerous to end a soul contract. I don't believe that. I've done it myself. And actually, in ending one soul contract, I was fulfilling the soul contract because by ending it, I was choosing myself. However, this exercise comes from Dolores Cannon's teachings, and she put, I don't know, hundreds, if not thousands of people under this hypnosis and learned a lot of things about soul contracts and all of that. But that'll be later in the episode. Right now, I want to let you know how to figure out if you have a soul contract with someone. So you have a soul contract with everyone or everything that has significance in your life, with your parents, with your siblings, with, your best friends as a kid, with any long relationship that you have. Some might even say any relationship that you have. Definitely the significant ones, even the ones that were really painful. I know we've all had those. That's a soul contract you have with someone. And oftentimes the hard relationships were meant to be that, to facilitate some sort of growth. And it's only after getting on the spiritual path do I think that you really realize that. And sometimes it takes years, even maybe a decade, to see how that soul contract was actually a blessing in disguise. So that's why you don't always need to end them. Sometimes they were meant to get you on a certain path. I know a relationship I had in my early 20s all the way to when I was 30 around my Saturn return. I had an on and off relationship that was really tumultuous and painful. And I always wanted to know why was this happening. And I realized it was happening for two reasons. We obviously had a soul contract. In my life, I believe he got me onto the path of spiritual awakening because it was so painful. But he also showed me a lot of dynamics I had with my father, which I also have a soul contract with because he was my parent, and patterns that I needed to be aware of and break, and things that I was holding on to. So I think sometimes you can have a basic soul contract with people, and then other people come to shine more of a light on that. I believe that we make these contracts before we come to the planet. We decide what sort of lessons we want to learn. I believe you have a soul contract with the career of your dreams, whether you have the career or not. But I like to think of it as if you have a desire for something, there's a version of you that already has it. So if you have like a desire for a specific career, you have a soul contract with that career. And maybe part of the contract in this life is you becoming the person that can hold that career. It's the same with desiring a certain type of relationship. Maybe you are in a not so great relationship and you really desire that loving, one that we all want, I assume, and you're not there yet. Maybe you're having soul contracts with people that are showing you where you're not loving yourself, because it's only when you begin to love yourself can you attract a partner in that will love you to that ability. I think the soul contracts with our parents are definitely some of the hardest, even if you have a good relationship with your parents. I believe oftentimes we have a strong soul contract with one person in our life, and other people that have a similar dynamic to us are just mirroring back to us what that main contract is that we need to learn from. Let's say you might have a certain dynamic with your father, and you might attract in partners that reflect back that same sort of energy to you. And while you do have contracts with those people, it's really getting you to look at that contract with your father. I know that that was true for me. A lot of the things that I was dealing with as a child were reflected back to me as an adult. And it wasn't until I did the healing work of really healing my relationship with my father that those romantic relationships no longer presented themselves in that way because I healed the contract and learned the lesson. I also think we have soul contracts with ourselves, like our human design type, our astrology type. Whatever it is that we really want in this life, we have a soul contract with. I believe that we decided who our parents are going to be. We decided where we're going to be born. We decided what kind of characteristics we're going to have, even kind of how we're going to look, and what challenges and things we wanted to overcome, and what type of lessons we wanted to learn. I think another thing to note is we also are playing roles in other people's lives. So while you might be in a relationship with a friend and they're reflecting something back to you, something that you need to learn, you're also doing something for them. And it's so easy to look at one side of like, this person hurt me or this person did this. It must be in the contract for them to get me to grow, but you're triggering them or trying to promote growth in them as well. I think all soul contracts are really about us becoming our best selves, learning how powerful we are, and becoming the best version of self. I talked about this in a previous podcast, but so the soul contract that I did break, once I broke it and felt that it was healed, I was able to see the truth of that relationship via another mushroom ceremony because I had been so clouded by what I wanted it to be that I was ignoring what the whole contract was about. I think an important thing to ask yourself before you're wanting to break a soul contract is what is so painful? Like, try to heal it first. The reason why I decided to end mine was because I was in a mushroom ceremony and I was seeing lifetimes of different types of interactions that we were having and the chaotic energy. And I just was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, this was painful for me coming back in this life, choosing to have this person be this person in my life. And I just really reached a breaking point. And what was weird was at that time, I was making a lot of comedy videos on TikTok about soul contracts because I believe that we're always teaching ourselves what we most need to learn. So unknowingly, I was like listening to this Dolores Cannon thing about breaking a soul contract. I was making all these videos about breaking soul contracts. I thought I was just being funny. I was like, oh, this is a funny way to look at this. And then when I was in that mushroom ceremony, I was like, oh, I'm telling myself that I actually need to break it. And the minute I broke it, I felt like I got my power back. It was like I had spent lifetimes chasing this person, trying to get them to love me. And what I needed to learn from this soul contract was really how to love myself. And in breaking that, I did that, do that. So I think if you're in a difficult soul contract, which I imagine you are because this is planet Earth, or if you don't know what your contracts are, it's noting about what the things in your life are not shifting. Let's say you're wanting to manifest a amazing relationship. What dynamic keeps coming up in your partners? Or if you have a partner, what is the pattern that you guys continue to play out? Why can you not heal this? And sometimes it's with that specific person, or sometimes the contract is an energy of something you need to learn. Maybe you need to learn self-worth. Maybe you need to learn independence. Maybe you need to learn to not settle for less. That can be breaking a soul contract when you're in a relationship with someone and it's not fulfilling you anymore and it's time to move on. But I also believe we have soul contracts with our pets. Like my dog, 100,000,000% do we have a soul contract. The minute I saw his photo on this rescue page, I felt this thing in my stomach where I was like, oh my God, this is my child. And another plant medicine ceremony, when I did ayahuasca, after I had adopted him, I saw that he had been my child in a previous life and he had died. And I saw that this was a beautiful soul contract. So they're not always painful. I saw that we had just agreed for our souls to merge and to be together. And I had lost him in that life, but I had gained him in this one. And we have such a beautiful relationship. And it's funny because I really feel like he's a kid. Like I call him a little boy, but it's just because he was a little boy in a past life of mine. So not all soul contracts are bad. Also, like I said, your desires, you have a soul contract with your desires because what is desired by you is destined for you. The things you're interested in are no accident. You're meant to have what you desire. You just need to become the person that can have those things. Okay. Now I'm going to give you the exercise if you're sure that you really want to break a soul contract. This is just you have done everything you think you can do in this life to try to heal this. It's causing you too much pain. Maybe you've asked your guides for help and you're not getting any help. For me, I think my answer was to break it. I think that was a message from my guides. So this, again, this comes from Dolores Cannon, who put hundreds, if not thousands of people under hypnosis and got a lot of the same answers from source and different energies of spiritual beings explaining soul contracts and how to break them. So, number one, you're going to be conscious of what patterns, struggles, or relationship you want to break a soul contract with. Intention is extremely important. Number two, you're going to think of that person. You're going to visualize them in your mind. Number three, you're going to visualize the two of you tearing that contract up. Number four, you're going to say, preferably out loud, we really tried to fix this in this life. We're done. We're tearing up the contract. Number five, you are going to forgive them because the thing about resentment is it binds us more to the person and to the contract. When you forgive, you let go. And a powerful way that I like to forgive is picture the person in my mind and say, like, I forgive you for not being the person that I needed you to be. Visualize them saying thank you and floating away. You're going to say, I forgive you, I really forgive you, and I release you. Number six, you are going to forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for the ways that you may have hurt others, and forgive yourself for being in this dynamic and not maybe loving yourself enough to figure out a way out of it. Number five, you're going to believe it's done and let it go. Like I said, only do this if you're absolutely sure you want to end the contract, because your life will probably dramatically change after this. I know mine did. So what are some of the soul contracts that you love in your life? Another way to manifest is to bring attention to the things that are working. So I invite you to think about this week things that you love so much that are really important to you, or things that you want to manifest in your life that you really feel in your heart. And the more attention you put on them, the faster you're going to figure out how to bring them into your reality. Thanks for taking this spiritual ride with me. I hope you have a beautiful week. Much love.